These are the glossaries what you have to write down in FNB for chapter number 6. First one is calico, light brightly printed cotton fabric. Next is chintz, fine cotton cloth with printed design. Next is textile, cloth woven by hand or machine. Next you are having aristocrats, people belonging to the highest class. Indigenous means native or local. Lucrative, producing high profit. So this you have to write down in FNB. Let's start our sixth chapter, that is weavers, iron smelters and factory owners. From history, as you can see the picture, the figure 1 says about the trading ships on the port of Surat in 17th century. Surat in Gujarat on the west coast of India was one of the most important port of the Indian Ocean trade. Dutch and English trading ships began to using this port from early 17th century. So its importance declined in 18th century. This chapter tells the story of crafts and industries of India during the British rule by focusing on two main industries, namely textiles and iron and steel. Both these industries were crucial for the industrial revolution in the modern world. Mechanized production of cotton textiles made Britain the foremost industrial nation in the 19th century. And when its iron and steel industry started growing from the 1850s, Britain came to be known as the workshop of the world. So here in this chapter we are going to talk about the two major and important industries of India, that is textile and iron and steel. How it developed, and mainly it was being the developed mainly during the British period because of mechanized production of cotton textiles. This brought an industrial revolution, you can say, in India. And even the iron and steel industries that also start growing in 1850s, and as Britain came to be known as the workshop of the world. So the industrialization of Britain had a close connection with conquest and colonization of India. You have seen in chapter 2 how the East India Company interest in trade led to occupation of territory, and how the pattern of trade changed over the decades. In the late 18th century, the company was buying goods in India and exporting them to England and Europe, making profit through this sale. With the growth of industrial production, British industrialists began to see India as a vast market for their industrial products, and over a time, manufactured goods from Britain began flooding India. How did this affect Indian craft and industries? This is the question we will explore in this chapter. So from the chapter 2 only we are learning about the East India Company, how they came as a trader in India. Later on they started ruling on India. They were not willing and not interested to just rule, but as they understood that they are going to get more and more profit from here, so they set up their factories. They set up their trading factories in India, and in late 18th century they used to buy the goods from India and started exporting it to the England and Europe, and making it with this trading they were making huge profit, as they were purchasing the things from India in very cheap rate, and it is sold out in their region and to the other region in very higher profit. Even though we have learned about the indigo planting, the crops which are highly in demand in their countries, that is being planted over here, the peasants were forced to grow the things. So these were the things that were being done by the company. Now the goods later on they understood the goods what they manufacture, that is highly in demand in our country. So now they got the vast market in India. Whatever they were producing, that is being sold out, that product is being sold out in India. So everyone were flooding towards India. Because of the same, the Indian craft and industry were affected. Now for this two question, how it affected the craft and industries, how they were being affected, that we are going to understand from this chapter. So first of all we will talk about the textile, that is Indian textile and the world market. Let us first look at the textile production. Around 1750, before the British conquered Bengal, India was by far the world's largest producer of cotton textile. Indian textile had long been renowned both for their fine quality and exquisite craftsmanship. They were extensively traded in Southeast Asia, like the places such as Java, Sumatra, and Penang, and West and Central Asia. From the 16th century, European trading companies began buying Indian textile for sale in Europe. Memoirs of the flourishing trade and the craftsmanship of Indian weavers is preserved in many words, still current in English and other languages. It is interesting to trace the origin of such words and see what they tell us. So from the chapter 2, we know that the East India Company as a trader, and as well as we are talking about the textile industry, so cotton was highly produced in India, as the soil is very suitable for growing of cotton. So here the producing of cotton is more compared to the other region, and cotton textile of India was very much popular and in demand in other places. Here we have named few like Java, Sumatra and Penang, as well as West and Central Asia. Now European people, they came in 16th century. They started buying the Indian textile and they started selling it to the European countries. Now all this stuff, the information and detailed thing were written in the memoirs of many rulers and as well as by the historians, and still it is available as in the inscription form, and as well as in many languages we came to know about the cotton textile of India, where it was being sold and how it was in great in demand, and what percentage of cotton was being exported to the other countries. So that were the interesting details what we are having still now. In the left hand side corner you can see and the picture. So this is the figure 2. This is Patola view mid 19th century. Patola was woven in Surat, Ahmedabad and as well as Patan. So this was highly valued in Indonesia. It became part of local weaving tradition there. So this kind of patola was woven in these 3 places, Surat, Ahmedabad and Patan. They were having great designs on them, and they are so colorful. So it is demanded in other places also. Now words tell us histories. This is the other topic that we are going to cover. So from the word itself we came to know about the history of that word and place. European traders first encountered fine cotton cloth from India carried by Arab merchant in Mosul in present day Iraq. So they began referring to the all finely woven textile as muslin. So you have to understand over here that the European traders who came to India to purchase the fine cotton. So they were the Arab merchants from the Mosul, present day Iran. So when they came to India, they referred this fine woven cotton as muslin, because according to this, muslin word means the wide currency, because they are earning more and more profit from the same woven cotton, because they are selling it in higher profit in their places. So this cotton was known as muslin by the Arab traders. When the Portuguese first came to India in search of spices, they landed in Calicut on the Kerala coast in southwest India. So the cotton textile which they took back to Europe along with the spices came to be called as calico. So this word was derived from Calicut. So here the other traders, Portuguese, they came to India mainly for the spices, and they landed to the Calicut, one of the place in Kerala to the southwestern India. When they came to this place Calicut, they also found the fine cotton, and when they took back the cotton and spices together, they called it as calico, and calico word was being derived from the Calicut word. Subsequently, calico became the general name for all cotton textile. So here by the Portuguese, the cotton came to be known as Calicut. There are many other words which point to the popularity of Indian textiles in Western markets. In figure 3, you can see a page of an order book that the English East India Company sent to its representative in Calcutta in 1730s. Now it is more interesting. You can see the next paragraph. The order that year was for about 5,89,000 piece of clothes. Browsing through the order book, you would have seen a list of 98 varieties of cotton and silk clothes. These were known by their common name in European trade as piece goods, usually woven cloth piece that were 20 yards long and 1 yard wide. So here how many clothes piece were available on the list? That was 5,89,000, and for each of the cloth they were having different names because there were 98 varieties of cotton and silk cloth. Now as we have read already about two paragraph, by the place name only the cotton is getting its unique name. So here we're having 98 varieties of cotton and silk cloth. So 98 different names were found in the list for cotton and as well as silk. So here you can see the list, the cotton which were being collected from different places by different name. So this is the figure 3. Notice how each item in the order book was carefully priced in London. These orders had to be placed 2 years in advance because this was the time required to send other orders to India, get the specific clothes woven and shipped to Britain. Once the cloth piece arrived in London, they were put up for auction and sold. So one particular place, cotton is very much famous. So it is sold in high rates in London as well as the other European countries. So these all clothes are collected together, and as per from which of the place the cloth is being collected, as per the popularity, the price tag is being tagged on it. So it is kept in auction in Britain and it is sold out. Now look at the names of the different varieties of cloth in book. Amongst the piece ordered in bulk were printed cotton clothes called as chintz, causes or khasa and bandhana. Now do you know where the English term chintz come from? Now why the cotton clothes were known as chintz also? It is derived from the Hindi word chint, a cloth with small and colorful flory designs. For that reason, this chint came to be known as chintz. From the 1680s, there started a craze for printed Indian cotton textile in England and Europe, mainly for their exquisite floral designs, fine texture, and relative cheapness. Because that were too cheap, they were having floral designs also, and mainly it is pure cotton. Now they were highly in demand in England and Europe. Rich people of England, including the Queen herself, wore clothes of Indian fabric. So here only from here we can understand what demand of cotton cloth was in Europe and as well as England. So Queen itself was wearing away the Indian fabric. Figure 4 you can see, that is Jamdani view, early 20th century. Jamdani is a fine muslin, again the cotton cloth, and smooth like the silk, on which decorative motifs, floral design, motifs means floral designs, are woven on the loom, typically in grey and as well as white. Often a mixture of cotton and gold thread was used as in the cloth in this picture. This most important centers of Jamdani weaving were in Dhaka in Bengal and as well as Lucknow in the United Provinces. So most probably this is woven in these two places, Dhaka in Bengal and as well as Lucknow. This is called as Jamdani printing, mainly grey and white, and usually the third thread, that golden thread, is also used to wove this piece. Next, that is bandhana. Similarly, the word bandhana now refers to any brightly colored and printed scarf for neck or head. Generally, in the Indian traditions, this is to be worn around the neck or on the head. So it is too brightly colorful. Originally, the term derived from the word that is bandhna. It means for tying, it is generally used to tie on head. Whenever there is any kind of occasion, special events, so this kind of cloth is tied on head. So this refer to a variety of brightly colored cloth produced through a method of tying and as well as dyeing. See the figure 5, printed design of fine cloth, that is chins, produced in Masulipattnam, Andhra Pradesh, and in mid 19th century. This is a fine example of type of chins produced for export in Iran and as well as Europe. There were other clothes in the order book that were noted by their place of origin, like Kasim Bazar, Patna, Calcutta, Orissa, Charpure. The widespread use of such words shows how popular Indian textiles had become in different parts of the world. So this figure 6 shows the cloth piece of bandhana design of earlier 20th century. Notice the line that runs through the middle. Do you know why? In this odhni, two tie and dye silk piece are seamed together with gold thread. Embroidered bandhana pattern were mostly produced in Rajasthan and as well as Gujarat. So they were popular in these two places. So the next topic, that is Indian textile in Europe market, that we will cover up in the next video. Now complete the worksheet up to the topic what we have covered in this video. Till then, stay tuned. Thank you.